Coming to you from Annapolis, Maryland, home of the U.S. Naval Academy, the sailing capital of the world, home of the world's largest crab feast, and 4 signers of the Declaration of Independence. This is the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, a daily roundup of local news that you can use, including local sports, local events, local opinion, and local weather from DMV Weather. Now here's your host, publisher of Eye on Annapolis, John Frenaye.
Happy New Year, and as promised, this episode of the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief is releasing at 7 a.m. It is Tuesday morning, January 2nd. This is John Frenaye, and this is your Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. Hey, don't forget that some new laws went into effect yesterday regarding health insurance. Coverage for diabetes test strips and prohibitions on deductibles and co-payments has been lifted in Maryland. New law prohibits, except under specified circumstances, insurers and nonprofits, HMOs, from imposing a deductible, co-payment, or co-insurance required on diabetes test strips, which answers the question why I saw signs advertising for diabetes test strips in bus shelters. Additionally, birth control must now be covered under Maryland law, as well as being able to get that prescribed for a 6-month period as opposed to month. And also, smoke detectors now need to have a new style, which do not require a battery to be changed twice a year. So you want to check into that. You can stop into your local hardware store, pick up a new one. On New Year's Eve at about 7:43, Christina Brooke Hall was apparently driving her vehicle erratically on Edwin Rayner Boulevard up in Pasadena. Officers pulled her over, they made contact with her, and she sped off again. They caught her a short distance later in the 8300 block of County Grove Road, which is a dead-end street. She turned her vehicle and intentionally rammed a marked police cruiser as the officer was getting out, which pinned him to the car with the door. He suffered minor injuries, was treated, and released. Ultimately, she was stopped, charged with first-degree assault, second-degree assault on a police officer, reckless endangerment, DUI, and numerous traffic-related offenses. Christina Brooke Hall, 34, of the 200 block of Margate Drive in Glen Burnie, did not have a happy New Year. 2 people have been injured following a 2-alarm apartment fire Friday night in Cape St. Clair. Just after 11:20, multiple 911 calls were received reporting a fire in an apartment building in the 700 block of Southern Hills Drive. Firefighters found fire on all 3 levels and through the roof and rear of a 3-story apartment building. A second alarm was called, brought 65 firefighters from Anne Arundel County, Annapolis City, and the Naval Academy. A 70-year-old male occupant of the apartment was transported to Anne Arundel Medical Center with serious injuries related to smoke inhalation. A firefighter was transported to the burn center at Hopkins with a minor burn. Those were the only 2 injuries. Everybody did escape out relatively unharmed. Baltimore has set a new per capita homicide record as gunmen killed for drugs, cash, payback, and for no apparent reason whatsoever. A surge of homicides in the city resulted in 343 killings in 2017, bringing the annual homicide rate to its highest ever, roughly 56 killings per 100,000 people in Baltimore. Even as arrests have declined to their lowest level in years, police say their officers are working hard in a tough environment. According to the chief spokesman for the Baltimore City Police, T.J. Smith, the vast majority of our kids and residents of the city aren't into criminal activity like this. It's the same revolving group of bad guys that are wreaking havoc for people's families. Smith's younger brother was the city's 173rd homicide victim in 2017. An interesting study from the Cato Institute, their 2013 study, Work versus Welfare Trade-Off, totaled the welfare benefits offered in each state and compared that value with wages workers would need to earn in order to have an equivalent take-home income. The study examined the package for a single mother with 2 children who could use programs such as temporary assistance for needy families, supplemental nutrition assistance program, food stamps, Medicaid, housing assistance, utility assistance, and women's, infants, and children. The results? Not too good. Maryland has a $9.10 discrepancy. The total welfare benefits package was $35,672 a year, which would be a pre-tax wage equivalent of $38,160 or $18.35 per hour. The minimum wage, $9.25. Maryland is the first of many states where welfare pays more than minimum wage. Hey, and for all those of you who are fans of Johnny Fox, the sword swallower, the magician from the Renaissance Festival, A life celebration is being planned for Saturday, January 6th at 3 p.m. here in Annapolis at Maryland Hall. The celebration will be free, however, tickets will be required to secure the seating, and tickets will be available today, and they'll be announced on the festival's Facebook page and Twitter pages, as well as the Maryland Ren Fest website. If you're interested in attending, please check all of those out. We've got some cold weather in place right now, and we have some snow on the way, perhaps. Stick tight. We've got George Young with DMV Weather, and he's going to bring it all to you in just a few minutes. Hey there, this is John Fernay, and the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief is sponsored by, well, it could be you. Podcasting is a growing trend, and since launching on September 1st, we have more than 10,000 downloads of this podcast, plus thousands of listens on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. In addition to our Facebook page, All Annapolis, and our Twitter account, we distribute the Daily News Brief to Apple Podcasts, which used to be called iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and the TuneIn app that can be played on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. We focus on local news, local weather, local events, and local sports, including high school and college. So our audience is pretty tightly targeted to the greater Annapolis area. And if you own or manage a local business, you're a likely customer. Intrigued? Well, here's something to think about. Your company could be featured on this daily podcast for less than $20 a day. Interested? Shoot me an email and let's talk. My email address is john@eyeonannapolis.net, and that's EYEONANNAPOLIS, but you already knew that, .net. Let's get together and see what we can make happen.
This is Maryland. The weather can be nearly unpredictable. We've got George Young from DMV Weather in Annapolis to sort it all out.
Hey everyone, this is George from DMV Weather with your Annapolis forecast for Tuesday, January 2nd. We are in the middle of what will likely go down as one of the top 20 all-time cold snaps for the Annapolis region, if not top 10 when all is said and done. And it's about to get slightly worse, both in terms of cold temps and a possible snowstorm on Thursday. For today, we forecasted a target high temp of 24 degrees for downtown Annapolis and 23 degrees for BWI Airport. And while we expect a relative warm-up on Wednesday into the 30 to 32 degree range for highs, we'll be back into the 20s for highs Thursday and likely only 15 to 20 degrees for highs both Friday and Saturday, with low temps in the single digits and teens most of the week, and possibly even toward the 0 degree mark Friday night and Saturday night, especially if we get a good snow cover on Thursday. Speaking of which, here's the deal. We can go ahead and call this the Beastie Boys storm of 2018 because, yes, you guessed it, it's not only going to turn into a beast of a storm with low central pressure, high winds, and heavy snow somewhere, but also because it's simply a tricky one to forecast. Why? Because A, it's a storm that'll form more or less over Florida, if not slightly east of it, and therefore it will not be the typical nor'easter low-pressure center that forms in the Gulf of Mexico and rides the coast. And B, it might actually get kicked a bit away from the coast on its journey northward by a piece of energy diving into the mid-Atlantic region out of Canada in mid-storm, pushing it even more off the coast than it could already be from the start, simply because of its point of origin east of the Gulf of Mexico. Net result of all of this, there very well will likely be a very sharp cutoff from west to east of snow in the area, meaning DC might get an inch, Dulles gets nothing, while Baltimore and Annapolis get maybe 3 to 5 inches, and then places like Lexington Park and Salisbury, Maryland get 6 to 10 inches of snow. These are not our official forecast totals, which will be posted online this morning, but it's an example that shows our overall thoughts on the setup in the region. Just know one thing now, when a storm's results are so timing dependent of pieces moving around from all over the country, like this one, the reality is that the answer won't truly be known until we're pretty much in a nowcasting situation and the storm has formed and has started its actual journey north-northeastward. So stay tuned, but start to plan not only for some snow on Thursday, but also very, very cold conditions to follow through Sunday. Okay, that's it for us today. Be sure to download our free weather app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store on all your devices by searching for DC MDVA Weather, And follow us on our website at dmvweather.com or on Twitter or Facebook. This is George Young of DMV Weather with your Annapolis forecast. Enjoy this second day of our new year. And remember, whatever the weather is outside, have fun and be safe.
Did you know that more than 1,200 mental health patients had to be transferred last year by AAMC to facilities outside our area because these facilities do not exist right here in our own area? Denim and Diamonds is a fabulous, fun evening under the stars to support expanding mental health care in our community. AAMC Foundation proudly thanks RxNT for their generous $50,000 exclusive presenting sponsorship. Get more info at aamcdenimanddiamonds.org.
Thanks for listening to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. If you like what you heard, make sure to tell your friends and colleagues about it. And also tell them about our website, eyeonannapolis.net, where you can find much more. Be sure to check out our other weekly podcast, The Maryland Crabs. This podcast comes to you every Monday through Friday at noon. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.